We get asked thousands of questions. No. We get asked questions about visas all the time.
So many questions!
In this video, I compiled answers to the most common questions, which we'll answer for educational purposes only. Hey, what's up guys? It's Mike from Job Ready English, helping international students get hired. Please guys, if you like the channel, like our content, don't forget to hit subscribe. Like this video, drop a comment down below and let us know what other videos you're getting. Thank you all so much for your wonderful comments that you're sending to us through LinkedIn and also through email. It's really appreciated. We worked really hard to put out great quality content on the channel, and the way that you could drive us and keep us going is smashing that like button, hitting subscribe and dropping a comment down below, even if it's to say thanks mate. Cool. So what I wanted to do today is something a little bit different. We get asked questions all the time, and I think something that kind of gets missed is that it's just really useful to have somewhere where you can say, well, I'm probably asking the same question that 100 other people have answered, but I can't find the answer. So we'll get calls, emails, messages through LinkedIn. And what we did was we actually compiled an FAQs page, the link of which is in the description down below. So you can go and look at it there. I think we answered like 80 plus questions there. And here are the most common questions for visas. So I'm just going to go through, read out the question, give you my answer, maybe a little spin, and keep the answers pretty short as well. Just as a caveat, and I've said this many, many times, we're not immigration lawyers. We don't purport to be. You should never take immigration advice from somebody who's not a lawyer. This is for educational purposes only. We'll also include some links down in the description below. I am going to put in a link that you can click as well, where you can basically just get an email with all the answers to these questions and the links that I mentioned about, because I reference other websites, other videos. Let's get into it. Question 1, can I apply for a tier 2 visa in the UK? Yes. So there are two types of tier 2 visas, now known as skilled worker visas, which is in-country applications and out-of-country applications. But theoretically, you can have an unlimited number of in-country applications. What people don't realize is that a company can only apply for a certain amount of certificates of sponsorship, which are basically is a number that you designate to a person so that they can then go and apply for a visa. And you can only apply for that once a year, which is in April. So when companies, it seems like they won't sponsor you, it's probably because they've run out of costs or because they're saving it for a higher paid person or a more senior role. Question 2, can I apply for a tier 2 visa outside of the UK? You can. Now there are a limited number of out-of-country tier 2 visas available. It's about 20,700 each year. The problem is that there are a lot of people, a lot of students and professionals contact us, and they'll say, oh, I've applied for hundreds of jobs from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Australia, United States, you name it, right? They'll say, oh, I don't get any reply. And my answer to that is, of course not, because they want people who are in the UK.
Oh.
So I've said this before and I'll say it again, the best chance of you getting a job in the UK is to be here under a study visa.
You tell him I'll be there!
In the UK, of course, there is the entrepreneur route. There's also the investor route, but we're talking about, at this time, £50,000, £200,000 or £2 million. So based on our experience, it's going to be really difficult for you to get a visa from outside of the UK unless you have a pre-existing relationship with that company. Question 3, can I buy a tier 2 visa?
Yes! I mean, no!
No, absolutely not. 100% do not do this.
Don't you do it!
We've had cases in the past where I've had students contact, maybe not at Job Ready English, but I know at a different company I was at, we had a number of clients who'd say, well, can I buy a visa? Someone said that I can buy a visa from them, and they've been scammed for up to £50,000. So basically the sort of ruse behind this is that you create a company, the company applies for a sponsorship license, and then they apply for a number of certificates of sponsorship for basically phantom roles. The problem with that is that the Home Office are pretty hot on it. And if they see lots of people being pushed through for lower value roles, they will basically come and investigate that company. How do I know that? Because I've been involved.
I'm a spy.
In something to do with that. So I've been involved with a company who has been inspected by the Home Office, had their sponsorship license suspended, and also I helped them engage with a lawyer to get their sponsorship license unsuspended. So I'm very intimately aware of that because I have used the sponsorship management system, and I've been, I think it's called a level 1 officer in that. So absolutely don't do that. Bad people. Bad. No. Question 4, can I convert a tier 5 to a tier 2 visa? There are 2 different types of tier 5. Well, there are 3 different types of tier 5 visas if you count sporting persons and religious, which is sort of a different thing, and it's more to do with sort of exceptional talent. So the tier 5 that you're basically talking about is going to be Youth Mobility Scheme, which is a 2-year scheme, which is done with a certain number of countries. The country we tend to deal most with is Taiwan. And you also have tier 5 GAE, which is Government Authorised Exchange Scheme. The whole purpose of the tier 5 is for short-term work experience.
Short-term.
So it's for 6 to 12 months under tier 5 GAE. It can't be converted, right? It can't be converted in countries. So you're kind of, for me, having a tier 5 visa is sort of kicking the can down the road. If your end result, your end goal is to get indefinite leave to remain, tier 5 is not great.
That's a terrible idea.
It's definitely not ideal, and you really want to be shooting for a tier 2. Question 5, can my spouse get a visa as well if I get a tier 2? Yes. So that's all in the regulations and guidelines, and you can go and check that out on the government website. Question 6, do I have to pay for my own tier 2 visa? Generally, if you're sponsored by a large company, no. For example, if PwC was to give you a job, they're not going to ask you to pay for that. SMEs might do, small and medium-sized enterprises. I mean, we're talking about really small companies. Generally, companies will bear the cost. It's almost like if a company's turning around to you and saying, well, you're going to have to pay for your visa and your training and so on and so forth, then it's not really a desirable option. You want a company that is economically viable and feels like they're kind of being able to sustain you. Also, this isn't the same as the immigration health surcharge, which is something different.
That is certainly different.
And actually, a lot of employers may ask you to pay for that. And I think we cover that a little bit later. You can see a full list of associated costs of applying for a skilled worker visa or tier 2 visa from the UK government website. And we'll put a link in the description below. Question 7, how can I find a tier 2 sponsor? We got asked this question a lot. So number 1, this is a really bad question.
Oh my God.
We get asked lots of times, people are like, oh, I'm in this. How can I find someone who sponsors me? Well, I mean, first of all, you could use something like sponsortier2.com. We're also going to put a link to the card up above. It's a really helpful 20-minute video where I sort of go through and explain this whole process. It is hard work. You can also check out some of our other articles and ebooks, but it's not something that you can just answer in an email. It is something that requires some planning and execution. What I don't suggest you do is apply randomly for jobs. That's a bad thing to do. Question 8, how do I know if I have the right to work in the UK? So yeah, this is a pretty common question. This generally comes up because you're applying for a job and then they'll say, do you have a right to work in the UK? If you're wondering if you do, then you don't. Right, that's the simple answer. So you might say, but I'm a student and I can work 20 hours a week and I can work full-time at the school holidays, but they're not asking you that. They're asking you if you can work full-time all the time. So the answer is generally, so I would err on the side and say probably not if you're having to ask. A really good website that I highly recommend is UKISA, UK Council for International Student Affairs. We will put a link to them in the description below, and also you can check that out in the email if you sign up for that as well. They're great and they answer this in great detail. Question 9, where can I get visa advice from? Only get advice from an OISC registered immigration advisor. UKISA also does have a helpline that you can call, which is manned by registered immigration advisors. I know that those phone lines are jammed, they're always really busy, but maybe if you get in there early, then you can give somebody a call. Please don't take visa advice from people from forums or from some guy called Dave on Facebook. It's just, I see it all the time and I just think, look, I wouldn't get I get legal advice from a lawyer. I mean, sure, I might watch a video like this for educational purposes because I think that guy kind of seems like he knows what he's talking about. I'm going to get my facts straight. But if I'm going to have information to make a decision, go and see a lawyer, right? Don't be asking people for advice. We'll drop that link in the description below to find where you can find a list of registered immigration advisors. Question 10, will I have to pay the immigration health surcharge? So I think at the time I looked at it, the cost for IHS was about £300 a year. Sometimes it could be more, so that was for Tier 5 Youth Mobility Scheme. For other visas, the yearly cost is £400. I could be wrong. I mean, go and look it up.
Go Google that.
But I think in most cases, yes, you have to bear the cost yourself. Some employers are pretty good, they'll pay it for you, but it is a substantial amount because you have to pay the yearly cost over the course of the visa. So it's like £2,000, £1,500. But you would generally be, in my experience, you're expected to pay that yourself. Question 11. Oh, this is a good one. I graduate on X date. Can I apply for the graduate route? So any questions about the graduate route, go and ask your university. Seriously, your university should answer this question for you. If they can't, they're really bad and you should probably report them to some form of ombudsman, right? Because obviously they're the people who sold you the degree based upon the proviso you could apply for the graduate route. Ask your university. Question 12, can my partner, family member apply for the graduate route with me? Again, a question to ask your university. We'll know some more details. The full details should be coming out for the graduate route on July the 1st, which may have passed by the time this video is published. But my suspicion is yes. But again, something to ask your university. Question 13, can you recommend an immigration lawyer to use? No.
Oh, hell no!
So we have had conversations with a number of different immigration lawyers. We really pride ourselves on delivering good, high quality service, which is efficient and honest. And to be honest, the lawyers who've contacted us, we didn't think that. So we have actually reached out to a couple of lawyers because it's something that we'd quite like to do with somebody, but at the minute we don't recommend anyone. Question 14, my visa is ending soon, what should I do? This is a really difficult place to be in. Again, that if you look up in the description thingamajig up above, I made quite a long video about this last year. It's about 15 minutes. Things to think about if your visa is ending soon. Question 15, does the NHS sponsor graduates? So this may seem like a weird question to be in there, but we get asked this a lot. I've even had this as a comment on one of the posts when I said I don't recommend NHS for graduates. Why? Because they're mainly the sponsorship is mainly aimed for medical personnel, right? So for doctors and nurses and related medical frontline personnel, it's generally not aimed at management graduates or people who are going to work. And I think there are 20 or low 30s number of NHS trusts in the UK. My experience with the candidates that we've worked with is that they'll go through the NHS process, which is pretty slow because the NHS is huge and employs millions of people. And then only at the end, after months, are they then told that actually they can't be sponsored for that role. So I found for new grads who are non-medically related, it's a little bit of a waste of time. But of course the NHS sponsors work visas. Otherwise, we'd be in big trouble. Question 16, why are some companies on the sponsor list then say they can't sponsor me? So this is quite a complicated question, but I'm going to break it down into a really simple answer. So as I said before, every company, every year who's on the sponsor list will apply for a certain number of certificates of sponsorship. They might apply for none because it costs money, right? Well, money and time. So they might apply for none because they may be on the list and just say, well, look, we're not hiring internationals, or we've got enough inbound talent at the minute. Now this renews every April. So say for example, company A gets 10 certificates of sponsorship. So that's 10 opportunities to sponsor. And then in the next 6 months, they hire 7 people who require a work visa. That leaves them with 3 certificates of sponsorship left. So what they might do is they may hoard those certificates of sponsorship, or they may only allocate them for particular divisions or particular levels of hierarchy within management. So it's not that they don't want to sponsor you, it's just that for some reason your timing is poor, and it's generally got nothing to do with you. There's certainly one thing I would really encourage you to think about is they're not doing this to taunt you or to kind of be like, we won't sponsor you. It's not about that. It's just, you're just a small part in a big machine as it's operating. And what I'd say is just iterate, apply for other companies. And in my experience, there are a smaller number of companies who employ a lot of students. And, most companies are very small. The UK is predominantly made up of small and medium-sized enterprises with less than 200 staff. So that's just something to bear in mind as well. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video and you got something out of it. Again, if you like it, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. We're releasing quite a lot of content. If there's a question that I didn't answer, something you want clarified, drop me a comment down below and see you soon.